All right, welcome back to module number 4. You guys, I want to say congratulations, being halfway through. If you stuck with me for this long, that means you are hopefully getting something out of this. So I am excited to have you here, and I'm excited to teach you guys about property evaluation. What did you say? What was that? Oh, you noticed my haircut? Thank you. I appreciate it. I know I look great. I feel great. We had a closing yesterday, so I want to get myself cleaned up. I went to my favorite barber, aka my fiance, so she cleaned me up, and I feel fantastic. So you should feel fantastic too. Let's dive into some numbers. Let's dive into property valuation and numbers. So we're gonna be going over a couple things that we touched on last module. So you guys know what these terms mean now. MAO, max allowable offer or maximum allowable offer. Finding ARV after repair value, repair cost, or RC. It's in the name. We're gonna start with ARV. So just a quick disclosure: 99.9% of wholesalers suck at running numbers. 99% of wholesalers drop out of the industry because they don't know how to do it, and they'll try and overestimate the offer price, not know how to find the ARV, not know how to calculate repair costs, and they have no idea. They have no idea what this even means. So they just make an offer, whatever the seller wants to give it to them, they try and wholesale it, and that's not good. You don't want to be a wholesaler who can't assign deals because it gives you a bad rep in the industry, and you don't want to be a wholesaler that tries to market your deals and gives bad numbers and says the ARV is something that it's not, or says the repair costs are significantly less than they actually are. So example, if you say the repair costs are $50,000 and then your buyer goes and says, no, this is worth $90,000, you know what they're going to do? They're going to do one of two things. A, or they're going to do both. A, they're never going to talk to you again. B, they're going to badmouth you. Or C, they're going to do both. And you don't want that because that's going to get you out of the industry. You're going to go to networking events, you're going to get clowned because nobody wants to work with you. And we don't want that. We want people to work with you. And we want you to have the best chance of success you can possibly have. So we're going to start in the middle. Finding ARV or after repair value. There's no fancy equation. I mean, there are equations for this. We're going to make this as simple as we possibly can. That way you don't have to deal with any fancy math or anything like that. So comps are your best friend. Comps are comparables. So when I say comps, I mean comparable properties. That means properties within a mile, 0.5 to 1 mile radius. When I say 0.5, I mean 0.5 miles. So like 0.5. So 0.50 or 0.5 miles or a mile. You can go up to a mile. You want to have comparable properties are properties within that 0.5 mile to 1 mile radius. And obviously the closer the property is to the property that you have, so the closer the comparable is to the property that you have, is a better comp. And it bases it is not just any house is sold. So you can have a cape that's 3 beds, 2 baths that's sold for $250,000, and now you're comping it. Or you could have a cape that you're on a contract for that's worth $250 fixed up, and you're comping it with something that's sold for $400,000. That's a 5 bed, 2 bath, like 5 bed, 4 bath colonial. Can't do that. It has to be similar square footage, similar bedrooms and bathrooms, and similar size all around, and ideally similar style house. Doesn't have to be a similar style house, but if you want to like have dead accurate comps, like so you're dead to the point, have similar style houses. It doesn't have to be that way. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say your comps matter based on similar style houses. It doesn't matter. It's more so the beds, baths, square footage. But if you want to like be super granular with your comps, having the similar style, so raised ranch, comp to raised ranch, ranch, comp to ranch, cape to cape, colonial to colonial, mansion to mansion, whatever you want to say, that's how you should do it. But that is just if you're being very, very like anal with your numbers. But for example, over here, we're going to go through comp 1, 2, and 3. So you have comp 1 over here sold for $510,000. Comp 2 sold for $525,000, and comp 3 sold for $480,000. So let's just go ahead and say that this is a colonial and you're in Arizona. So the colonials in Arizona, these are the 3 comps that are within a 0.5 or to 1 mile radius of your address. What you're going to do is you're going to add them up. So that's the total amount, $1,515,000 of total amount. Divide that by 3 because that's 3 comps. You can add multiple comps in here if you want. You could add 4 or 5 comps. It will give you the same thing. Sweet spot is 3 because if you want to, if you found 3 comparable sales, that's most likely going to be the comp. So sweet spot rule of thumb is 3. You're going to divide that by 3, and then that is your ARV. So that is the most definite value of the house if it's fixed up, and it can vary. And that's not to say that your house is going to sell for $510,000. No, depending on the finishes, depending on the location, is it a desirable area? Is are the school systems better in this part of town than the next part of town? Is this on a street instead of a main road? Over here, you'll see a little tip that says road versus street. If it's on a road, which is like a main busy road, which you probably hear coming through our mics right now as we're filming outside, we're near a busy road, right? So that affects the value of a property compared to if it's in a cul-de-sac. So if you're in a cul-de-sac, the chances of the house being worth more because it's a more desirable area are significantly higher. So a family with 2 kids who are just starting out are most likely willing to pay 20, 30, 40, 50,000 more dollars than somebody to live in a cul-de-sac or like a quiet street than somebody who's trying to live on a main road next to Farmington Avenue in Connecticut, which is one of the busiest roads in our state. So that has a lot to do with the value of the property as well. So don't forget to take that into account. But on average, based on these comps, this is going to be your sweet spot number, give or take. Again, could be more if it depends on the area. Could be less if it's on a main road or if it's on a very, very busy part of town. Maybe it's not the best area. Maybe one street's worse than one street if you live in a certain area. Know your area. That's the best advice we can give you. This is just a very broad example. But do your research, know your area. If you're wholesaling virtually or you're wholesaling remotely via, like, say you live in Denver and you're wholesaling in Texas, make sure whatever market you're in, make sure you know it and make sure you know it well. That way you can have the best chances of calculating the best ARV you can possibly calculate. Just some pro tips, like I said, within 0.5 miles, you can all go up to 1 mile. Note, if you're in a rural area, you can go out 1+ miles. So say you live in New Hampshire. New Hampshire is a very rural state. So it's one of our neighbors. We live in Connecticut. New Hampshire is northwest from us is New Hampshire. So they're a very rural state. They have a lot of trees. They have a lot of land, which is great. Good for them. Peaceful life over there. But if you're comping a property, you can, and there's only 1 or 2 sales within the past year. You want to make sure that you go out further so you can see similar houses that are further out in the same town, ideally, that have sold. That way you can get your best number. Another rule of thumb for your comps, 6 months or less. Ideally 3 months of recent sales, but you can go up to 6 months. If you're in a rural area, you can go up to a year plus, depending. And when I say that, that means from the time of the most recent sale. So say you're looking at something, you're comping it with something that sold 3 months ago, you have a spot on comp because that means it was a recent sale, and that means that area is still hot because that property sold for that price. Therefore, you can get ideally your price of 505. If you're going out over a year ago, the market could have fluctuated. So say your market or whatever area you're in is on a downtrend in terms of prices. This price a year ago might not be the same, even though it's within 0.5 mile radius, right? Always make sure you keep that in mind. Make sure your comps are with recent comps. Comparable, recent. So I'm going to put a star. $180 days or less. You can tell the difference between Marcos's handwriting and my handwriting. So you want to make sure they're recent. You want to make sure they're within 180 days or less. Obviously, depending on your area. If you're in a very rural area, you can push that out to a year or more, depending. But ideally, the sweet spot is always going to be 180 days or less for finding comps. So we covered all of how to find our ARV. So now we're going to find how to find our max level offer, how to make the best offer possible. So quick rundown of the formula. Max level offer equals ARV times 70% minus repair costs minus your wholesale fee. Very safe. This is the safest way you can make an offer. So we're going to refer to this over here. So there's a rule of thumb in this industry. I don't know who made it, why they made it, but someone made it. It is what it is. 70% of the property's ARV is the sweet spot for finding your offer. So when I say 70%, you're going to do 75% of the ARV. So say the ARV is $500,000. You're going to times it by 70%, which is going to give you $350,000. Your repair costs are $80,000. And then you have your offer, which could be $250,000 minus your wholesale fee, which is going to be $250,000. Another way you can look at this is you could do max level offer equals ARV minus your investor's desired profit minus repair costs minus wholesale fee. This makes it complex. This is only for if you have an investor who wants to make $100,000 or $150,000 per deal. This offer might be $175 or $160. It really depends on the investor or your buyer that you have. But the best formula to use, I would definitely say, is going to be the top one. So a lot of wholesalers that we see, they're trying to send somebody a deal, but they don't factor in their wholesale fee, and it makes it kind of awkward because now you're looking to say, okay, I want to make $25,000 on this, but you're shaving off that profit for your buyer. So now instead of them making, say, after all this, maybe they want to make $100,000 or $90,000, now they're going to make 60 or 70 grand, because you also got to factor in their holding costs. And in this formula, you don't factor in somebody's holding costs. That's for your buyer. So with this formula, you don't factor in your buyer's holding costs. That's for them to figure out. But this gives you a very safe and very general idea of how to structure your offer. And again, I'll run you through the formula. So $500,000 times 70%, which is the 70% rule, equals $350,000 minus the repair costs, which are $80,000, which will equal $250,000, which would be the offer, minus your wholesale fee, which is going to be $225,000. So this isn't to say that you're not the best negotiator to ever grace the planet. If you can get grandma over here down to $200,000, guess what you just did? So instead of having her, instead of having this be $225,000, say you get her $200,000. Say you get her $200,000. Now all of a sudden your assignment fee went from $25,000 to $50,000 because grandma she's willing to take $200,000, and you know your buyer's going to buy it at $250,000. So now you made yourself $50 grand instead of $25 grand. So the better you are at negotiating, the better you will be at making more money in this business, just so you know. We are going to have more modules in the future about negotiations. We're going to have more modules about cold calling, things to say to sellers, the whole 9 yards. Always be educating yourself. We have a lot of resources in here. You have access to us. You have access to our YouTube. Always be educating yourselves. We're going to be coming out with soon role-playing modules that teach you like what to say to sellers if they say X, Y, or Z. We're going to have more scripts coming out, different things, different little tips and tricks that we learned throughout our business. We're going to give to you guys. That way you guys can have the best chances of success in your market as well. So moving on to estimating repair costs, or RC. Worst case scenario, consult your end buyer. So your investor most likely knows what they're doing in terms of renovation costs. They know what they're going to be able to do something for. So say you have an experienced investor and they have a kitchen guy, and their kitchen guy beats any other kitchen guy's prices. They're instead of paying $15 for a kitchen, they pay $7. So they just made themselves $7,000 more on profit because they have a guy who could do something for cheaper. So this is going to vary significantly. We have a cheat sheet inside the Discord. We'll link it below this module. That way you have access to it. It's a PDF. You can print it out. You can download it. You can do whatever you want. But you can fill this in. And if you get sophisticated in this business and you really want to stand out above other wholesalers, you can have a breakdown list of what you think everything is going to cost and how you got to your repair budget. Having this structured and broken down for somebody, for them to see it, and for you to know what something's going to cost, it's helpful. And it will make you look more professional. You can have it printed out and give it as a package to somebody. If you're doing a bunch of walkthroughs for the property, say it's vacant, you're doing a bunch of walkthroughs, you're walking through your investors, and you're giving out packs to everybody with what your asking price is, what the comps are, and then what the cost is per room, per kitchen, siding, roof. It depends on what it needs. People like that. It'll be really cool and make you stand out above other wholesalers, and people will come back to you. Even if they don't buy your deal, or if they don't think the deal's for them, they will come back to you because you're showing that you're professional, you're showing you're educated, and you're showing the exact way you got to your numbers. So it's a cool little tidbit. So that's it for repair costs. Again, go check out our cheat sheet. It has the average cost of a 1,500 square foot house, what these would be. We're going to make other ones too for 2,000 square feet, 2,500 square feet. We're going to try and make them that way. No matter what market you're in, you can always have a general idea of what something's going to cost. So check out the link below, download that, make sure you have it, so that way you have your resources. And that is going to be it. So in this module, quick little recap, we talked about how to calculate your max allowable offer, how to find your ARV, and how to get your repair costs dialed in. Next module, we'll be talking about negotiations and how to get somebody to sign your contract. So thank you for sticking with me. You're halfway done. I'm excited to see you on the next module.